Alright, so these are some of the cranial bones. First up we have our frontal, which is right up in the front. That's the name. Then we have our parietal, which is right on the side here. And then we have our occipital, which is in the back right here. And then we have our external occipital protuberance, which is in the back right here. If you can see the bump. What it's for is it connects the trapezius muscles down here, so it's the origin. So that's what that's for right there. And then we have our temporal, which is right here. Alright, so first we have our temporomandibular joint, which is right here. You can see it in action right here. Then we have our mastoid process, which is right here. And then we have our styloid process, which is right down here, styloid. And then we have our external acoustic meatus, which is right there. And then we have our squamous part, which is right here. So now we're looking at the internal view. So first off, we have the petrous part of the temporal bone, which is right here, the back right there. So you can see it right there. And the part right behind it, the little notch you see there, is that's the internal acoustic meatus. And what passes through this opening are facial nerves and the labyrinthic artery. So that's what goes through there. Alright, next up we have our superior orbital fissure, which is right here. And what passes through it is actually the oculomotor nerve. So that goes right through there, through the superior orbital fissure. Next up, let's pull a Hannibal Lecter and pop this hood off. We have our lesser wing, which is right up front here. And then we have our greater wing, which is right here. And then we have our optical canal, which is right here. And the sella turica is right back here, and what sits in it is actually the pituitary gland. Alright, so first we have the crista galli, which is right here, and the olfactory bulb sit on either side of it. And then we have the cribriform plates, which is right next to it, and what passes through that are the olfactory nerves. So let me pop the top back on this bad boy and show you some sutures. So what we have here, first off, we have our coronal structure, which is just right over the top of it. So we have our coronal structure right over the top, and then we have our sagittal, which is right down through, and then we have our lambdoid, which is in the back right here, and then we have our squamous, which is on the side. So those are the various cranial sutures. Alright, now we're going to go over some of the facial bones. So first off, let's start off with the maxilla, which you can see is right here. And then we have our nasal, which is up here. The zygomatic is right under here. Well, I'm sorry, right here. You can see right here. And then we have our ethmoid, which is right, the ethmoid is right, if you look into the nose, sorry, it's kind of small, it's right in there. You can see the ethmoid. The vomer, you will be able to find the vomer right, if you look right down here, right here, the vomer right there. And then the inferior nasal concha, you can see that, it's on here, it's a little hard to see, but it'll be right around here. And then our mandible is our jaw. So that is the mandible right there. So now we're going to look at some of the structures of the mandible. So the body, you'll see, is right down here. Then we have our angle, which is up here. The ramus is, you keep going up, is up here. And the condyle is further up, which is right under here. And then the mandibular notch, you'll see it's just right around there as well. And then the coronoid process is right here. So you can see that right there. So that's a coronoid process. So that's the mandible and facial bones. All right, so now we're going to go over the 4 different curves of the vertebrae column. So first off, we have the cervical up top, we have the thoracic, the lumbar, and then the sacrum down here. So the 2 primary are the thoracic and the sacrum, and the two secondary are the cervical and the lumbar. All right, so cervical vertebrae, we have 7 of those. Those are the top 7 up here. The atlas is the one that is at the very, very top, and that allows the head to articulate. So it allows my head to move around from side to side. It's what supports the head, which is where the name comes from, Atlas, which is the Greek god that held up the globe, so that it's the vertebrae that's holding up the head. So what's unique about the transverse process of the cervical vertebrae is that there is a small hole which allows, it's the presence of the foramen, which is a hole in which the vertebral artery passes through. So that's kind of what's unique about it compared to the others. All right, so now we're going to go over the thoracic vertebrae. So first off, there are 12 of them. So the spinous process is the back, which is very spiny, and the transverse process, if you look, it's the side. Sorry, it's like the side parts, and then the intervertebral foramen is actually, that's where the spinal cord passes through, and it's hard to see on this, but it would be within this column. And then the body of Sternum is right here. The position of the intervertebral discs, you can, if you see, it's right in there as well. So that's the thoracic vertebrae. All right, so now we go over to the lumbar vertebrae, which is these 5. So those are down there, and then we have the sacrum, which is down right here, and there are 5 fused with it. And then right here we have our coccyx right there. So, all right, now we're going to go over some of the sternum parts. So first up, we have our mandible, which is up here, and then we have the body, which is this larger part down here, and then we have the xiphoid process, which is right down here, the little pointy area that can get broken really easily. And then we have the jugular notch. If you see, there's a notch right up at the top. That is the sternum. All right, so now we're going to go over the ribs. So first off, you have your true ribs up top. Those are ones that connect directly to the sternum individually. Followed by then we have our false ribs, which indirectly connect to the sternum. And then we have our floating ribs, such as this one down here, that aren't connected to the sternum at all. All right, so some of the parts of the rib. You start off with what's connecting to the vertebrae, which is the head, followed by the neck right below it, and the tubercle right next to it as well. So that's kind of the parts of the rib. How it articulates is the rib, if it's rib 5, it's corresponding with its corresponding thoracic vertebrae, which would be 5, and then also partially of the one above it as well. So that's how it articulates with the vertebrae.